We're going to start our lesson today with a phonic starter, and we're going to be looking at the oi sound using two different graphemes. So first of all, we're going to look at the oi sound using the letters O and Y to make the oi sound. Usually, the letters O and Y would be found at the end of a word when making the oi sound. So here are some examples. We've got b, oi, boy, enjoy, enjoy. Can you think of any other words with the oi sound using the letters O and Y? You can also use the letters O and I to make the oi sound. Usually with these letters, it would be in the middle of the word with the oi sound. Let's have a look at some examples. Sp, oil, spoil. T, oil, et, toilet. Ch, ois, choice. So you can see that those words all contain the oi sound. I'd like you to see if you can have a go at writing some words with the oi sound in. So I'm going to give you the word. I'd like you to grab a piece of paper and a pencil and see if you can spell the word. We'll check the words together afterwards. Are you ready? The first word I want you to spell is the word spoil. If you give somebody too much stuff, you spoil them. The second word is the word annoy. Annoy. If you keep pestering somebody, you might really annoy them. The third word is the word noise. What's that noise? Mr. F said. Noise. And the fourth word is the word destroy. If you break something on purpose, you destroy it. Should we have a check and see if we spot those words correctly? Okay, so we'll start off with the first word, which was the word spoil. Is the oi sound in the middle or the end of the word? That might help you with the oi, spoil. Give yourself a tick if you got that right. The second word was the word annoy. If you frustrate somebody, you and the oi is at the end of the word, so it's an O-Y. The third word was the word noise. What's that noise? That's a oi, and then the s sound is the letters S and E together. And the fourth and final word was the word destroy. D-E-S-T-R-O-Y. Destroy. And well done if you got all four of those words right. If you did make a mistake with one of them, just maybe make sure that you don't make that mistake again. And remember, the general rule is that the OY words goes at the end of the word. And for OI words, it goes in the middle of the word. There are some exceptions, so you do need to be very careful, but most of the time, 95% of the time, that will work. Now, today we're going to be doing some reading together. So our objective today is to read and understand a diary entry. We looked at letters last week, and they're very similar to diary entries, except a diary is written to yourself. You write it for your own benefit so you can remember things that you've done in the future. So we're going to read a diary entry today, and we're going to see if we can answer some questions about it. So to be successful, we're going to see if we can use phonics to decode words. We're going to see if we can use other strategies to help us decode unfamiliar words. We're going to see if we can retrieve information from the text, and we're going to see if we can use evidence to explain our opinion. So I'm going to show you a text, and this text is a diary entry which has been written by somebody about their day in Mexico. It starts off with Dear Diary. That's who you're writing to. You're writing to the book. You're writing down for your own benefit in the book. Well, I have had the most fantastic holiday, but today was the best day by far. I arrived at Copper Canyon at the crack of dawn, and it was such a spectacular sight. It's absolutely huge with 6 rivers, deep canyons, and one of the highest waterfalls in Mexico. It was quite beautiful, and I took some amazing photos of it. After that, we drove to the incredible Chichen Itza, which is a Mayan ruin with temples, stone carvings, and 365 massive steps. Unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to climb the steps because it was so old, and they're worried that it will crumble if people walk on it. It was still amazing to see the sights. A little later, I returned back to the hotel where they were serving my favourite food, fiery chicken fajitas. I had to drink lots of water as they burned my mouth. I also enjoyed chocolate churros coated in sugar. Yummy. I only have 1 day left of my holiday and plan to spend the day relaxing by the hotel swimming pool in the warm Mexican sunshine. I totally recommend visiting Mexico to anyone. I look forward to telling you more about it soon. Speak to you tomorrow. Now I'm going to show you some true or false statements, and I want you to work out whether you think it's true or false. But remember, you can use the text to help you work out the answer. So the first true or false statement you need to work out whether it's true or false is this. I arrived at Copper Canyon very early. Let's go back to the text. I arrived at Copper Canyon very early. Do you think that's true? Or do you think that's false? What evidence have you got to show it? So I was looking for the words Copper Canyon, which is here, and it says, I arrived at Copper Canyon at the crack of dawn. And the crack of dawn means when the day is just beginning. So is it true? Yes, it is. I arrived there very early at the crack of dawn. The second one, I was tired when I reached the top of Chichen Itza. I was tired when I reached the top of Chichen Itza. Is that true? Or is that false? Where's the paragraph about Chichen Itza? Does it say about how I felt when I got to the top? Was I tired? So Chichen Itza's this paragraph here, and it says, unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to climb the steps because it's so old and they're worried it will crumble if people walk on it. So, was I tired when I reached the top? No, I never reached the top. I wasn't allowed to climb it. So there you go, that answers that one. Last statement, is this true or false? I think Mexico is a very good place. Have a look at the text. Does the person writing this think that Mexico is a very good place? And how do you know? Now, I think there's a few bits of evidence that would make this statement, I think that Mexico is a very good place, true. If you look in the first sentence, it says, well, I have had the most fantastic holiday, but today was the best day by far. So that shows that it's been a very good time. If you also look in the final paragraph here, just before the last paragraph, we've got, I totally recommend visiting Mexico to anyone. Now, if you recommend something, that means that you think that they should do it. You'd say, yes, you should go to Mexico. And if you thought that Mexico was rubbish, then you wouldn't recommend it, would you? So I think that both of those things are there as evidence to say that Mexico is a very good place. Let's have a look at some questions now. Not true or false, but questions where we have to find the answer. So the first one says, what did I take photos of on my trip? So if I was looking for that in the text, I'd probably look for the word photo or photograph, and then I'd read where that is as to what site it's about. Have you found photos or photograph? It's in this paragraph here, the word photos. Can you see? Photos. What did we take photos of? Well, if you look at the first sentence, it says, I arrived at Copper Canyon at the crack of dawn. And it goes on to say it was quite beautiful and took some amazing photos of it. So in this question here, I would just write Copper Canyon. I don't need to write, I took photos of Copper Canyon on the trip, because this is not a writing lesson, this is a reading lesson. So as long as you show that you understand the answer to the question, you don't need to write a full sentence. Should we look at the second question? In the paragraph that begins after that, so we know where we're looking now, find and copy an adverb. Now it says find and copy, which means that I have to look for it and I have to copy exactly what it says. I can't make it up. And an adverb we looked at last week, an adverb's job is to describe the verb. Now, we know that lots of adverbs, not all of them, but lots of them end in ly. So that could be a clue we could look for. So let's go to the paragraph that says after that and look for an adverb. Ready? Find the paragraph that begins with after that. Have a look for an adverb. Is there a word that ends in ly? And is that used as an adverb in the sentence? Have you spotted it? It's this one here, unfortunately. Unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to climb the steps. That describes the way I'm feeling after I'm not allowed to do something. So it describes the action of not being allowed. So that's why it's an adverb there, unfortunately. Let's look at the last question. Find two adjectives I use to describe the food. Now, this already tells me what an adjective's job is to describe. But I need to find two words that describe the food. So remember, I'm looking for the paragraph all about the food. It's not going to be about Copper Canyon. It's not going to be about Chichen Itza. So where is the food information? And what two adjectives are there to describe the food? Have you found it? Let me read the sentence. A little later, I returned back to the hotel where they were serving my favorite food, fiery chicken fajitas. Fiery, that describes the fajitas, doesn't it? And fajitas is a type of food. So fiery could be one of them. I had to drink lots of water as they burned my mouth. I also enjoyed chocolate churros coated in sugar. Yummy. Chocolate, that second word describes the churros. It describes the flavor of the churros. But also this very last word, yummy. So there were three words we could have chosen from there. We could have chosen fiery, we could have chosen chocolate, we could have chosen yummy. All of those would have been lovely adjectives you could have put in here. But if it says find them, it doesn't mean make them up. It doesn't mean describe how you think the food is. It means find them and put the answers there from the text. Now, your job today is I'd like you to have a read of a diary entry and see if you can answer the questions about it. Remember, there's no need to write your answers in full sentences, but just make sure that your answers make complete sense. Check that you've read the question really carefully, because I see sometimes people making little mistakes with answering their question because they found the wrong thing. So read the question really carefully, and that will help you to make sure that you've got the right answer. Remember to come and ask me on DB Primary if you need any help with any of the work today.